101, Council's ordinary meeting. And if we could start, please all stand and welcome Reverend Bernard Gabbard. Thank you, Reverend, from the Anglican Church in Narrabri.
Mayor, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to open in prayer. Let's pray. Dear Father, thank you for your daily and eternal provision as the creator for the rains, the crops, the soils and the land, as the saviour for the life, death and resurrection of Jesus. Thanks for providing us with a town and community for individuals and organisations that live together under your gracious provision. Thanks for providing us with authorities like this council to make decisions about the daily resources you've given us for the good of the town you've put us in. Please give this council, elected members and staff, the wisdom, insight, grace, humility and transparency to make decisions for the good of all. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and in particular the Gomeroi people of the Kamilaroi Nation and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Recognition of servicemen and women. Council acknowledges the sacrifice made by Australian servicemen and women, in particular those who gave their lives in defence of the freedom we enjoy today. Thank you. Item 4A.1, attendance by audio-visual link. Recommendation the Council approve for Council Lisa Richardson to attend the meeting by audio-visual link. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Tiemans, seconder. Councillor Dickinson. Any further comment for or against?
Look, I need to read our policy on this again, but would the reason for the need for this be printed? Wouldn't it be in the resolution, or I'll just look towards staff for that, please.
Yeah, probably a few teething problems to start off with, Councillor, with this being the first time we've used it, but we'll assure that we have that in the next. Very important we have that in the next one. So, any further comment? Councillor Richardson is on an audio-visual link because she's just had a baby 2 weeks ago. It enables her to come to council and contribute. We only do that on special circumstances.
And it's within the scope.
It's within our policy, yeah. Any further comment for or against the recommendation? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. There is a late apology from Councillor Redding. Unforeseen work commitments that have popped up. It's an apology. Any declarations of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests? Councillor Lamont.
Yes, I've recorded, Mr Mayor, items 12.12 and 16.1, non-pecuniary, non-significant, because of my role as a auditor for the Transport for New South Wales for bus operations, both items.
Councillor, could you turn your microphone off?
Yeah.
Councillor Dickinson.
Non-pecuniary, non-significant for 12, employed by Forest Coach Lines.
Item 6, items to be considered in confidential public excluded meeting. The following matters will be considered in closed public excluded meeting. 6.1, amendment to Master Inland Rail Development Agreement, the Murder, Narrabri to Narromine and to N section. And 6.2, Public Art Advisory Committee appointment of members. Can I have a mover on that one, please? We don't need to move that? Okay, so we have some presentations here today. From Kate Holman on item 12.12 and from Caitlin Whiting on item 12.12. So please step forward and make your statement. You have 3 minutes, ladies, okay? I can discretionally give you another 2 minutes if you require them. Okay. Just relax, it's all good. We all live in the same town.
Good afternoon, I'm Kate Holman. I'm a parent of 2 high school age children. I'm here to talk in support of a bus to Wee Waa from Narrabri for the high school students that want to attend the Wee Waa High School. I have a son in Year 9, a daughter in Year 7. Unfortunately, my daughter is not happy where she is at Narrabri High School. She's wanting to further her education and is wanting to attend Wee Waa High School. The bus situation, as outlined in the forms that you would all have in front of you, makes it quite hard. Students at the moment are catching the bus from Narrabri to Wee Waa on one bus, getting off, waiting at the telescope driveway for 15 to 20 minutes unattended by adults on the side of the road, then are picked up by another bus that then takes them to Wee Waa, and then vice versa each day. So they're leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning, not back till 4:30 in the afternoon. Number one, it's not safe for children on the side of the road, and weather conditions will affect that as well. Also, kids that want to come back and participate in after school sports and have a job, it's not viable. So by having a direct bus from Narrabri to Wee Waa would make sense for children. I believe children have a right to pick where they want to learn. I'm 45 k's away from Narrabri, closer to Wee Waa, therefore it's not viable to put her on a bus to St Mary's every day. Whereas to Wee Waa makes more sense. Also to have the children attend, which will be a brand new school in the Shire, and support our local communities financially as well, would be wonderful as well. I'm trying to think what else. I do know the only thing holding us back from sending my daughter to Wee Waa at the moment, and many other parents that I've spoken to, is the bus situation. If we can have a direct bus, I'm sure enrolments will increase dramatically and kids have the opportunity to have a great education in our Shire at a brand new school. So that's all I can think of at the moment. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Kate?
Good morning, everyone. I needed to be here today to advocate for a bus to run from Narrabri to Wee Waa for high school students. I'm a local working mum who has been looking at what high school education is available and feasible for our daughter to attend next year. And as there has been only one safe attending high school available in the direct Narrabri area for a while now, it was a massive relief knowing that we've got a brand new school that has become available next year. The brand new Wee Waa school offers their students to continue their education with the same high values, faith, structures in place as their primary education. And as we love our friendly rural communities, today we're here to fight to have the same opportunities for our students' education and asking for a safe commute to a school. Waiting 15 to 20 minutes at a bus stop on an unsecured highway is not feasible, it's not reasonable, and it's not safe by any means. This is also There currently is a bus that takes the children to a halfway point with an expected 15 to 20 minute wait for a connecting bus. So every day is taking kids around 1.5 hours to get to school on a round trip instead of 50 minutes. Not having a bus running continuously for our students to attend available schools is impractical. Narrabri and Weewar have worked well together for generations. Many Weewar students attending Narrabri primary and high schools and Narrabri students attending Weewar all we'll be doing is offering a safe way to get between towns for the sole purpose to get our school kids to school. Unfortunately, with the requirements for our children to be enrolled into the school before this passes is not a feasible option either. Our children's education has never been an easy decision. No parent easily decides, yeah, that school will do. There are questions to be asked, reference to be heard, and the bus route is a big part of that equation. There is a brand new school that we're wanting to fill and to be used to teach our younger generations, and we can't do that until there is a definitive answer if we're able to get our children to school, or if they happen to work in Weewar, or our children to get home safely at a reasonable time. At the moment, there is no room for after-school curricular activities. There is no room for after-school work. They're getting home at nearly 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it is not safe. I do not feel safe with my child hanging around on a highway for 20 to 15 minutes. It's not feasible. So this is not about just getting our kids to school safely, but it's offering our rural students for the same opportunities as other bigger communities and what they would have already done. So please, can we have a consecutive bus to run every day from Narrabri to Weewar? That is all I've got for you today.
Thanks, Caitlin. Appreciate that. And thanks for coming in and giving your presentation today. Really appreciate it. Item 8, confirmation of minutes. A recommendation that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Narrabri Shire Council held on the 25th of July 2023 as circularised be confirmed and signed as a correct record by the Mayor. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Dickinson, Councillor Browning. Any comment for or against the motion? Councillor
Mayor,
Bowen.
I'm not really able to vote on this because I wasn't at the last meetings.
Thank you.
I won't be voting against it, but I really can't vote for it either.
Okay. Any further comment for or against? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Okay, motion carried. Matters of great urgency. Item 9, nil report. Questions with notice. Item 10, nil report. Merrill minute. A recommendation that Council note the Merrill appointments for the period 17 July to 11th of August 2023. I'll move that one. Any questions, Councillor Clements?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm just interested in your meeting regarding the Murray-Darling Basin Association of Local Government, regarding the water plans and so on. Just some information would be great. Thank you.
I didn't attend that, Councillor Tiemans, and filled my spot there. Would you like to fill them in, General Manager?
Oh, through the chair. That was just an introduction meeting, let's say, from the chair, which is Jamie Chaffey, and the chief executive of the Murray-Darling Basin Association. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. They were offering us the opportunity to become members of the Murray-Darling Basin Association, to join a selection of other councils. I don't have the numbers at the top of my head. But they're basically having a membership drive through the whole of New South Wales, the Murray-Darling Basin area, to try and boost numbers. I think they have probably upwards of three quarters of the local government areas as members, and we're sort of basically selling us the virtues of becoming a member. If there is interest, we can perhaps talk about that at a workshop in the upcoming future, just to see if we feel we would like to be members. Just hadn't had a chance to make it part of our workshop agenda as of yet.
Any further questions? Okay, I've moved the motion, so all those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 12.1, recommendation that council receive and note the infrastructure delivery status report for July 2023. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Clements, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Clements, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, look, I thank the staff for the report, and I think it's normally a time when we sort of open it up a bit and ask some questions. So I don't have a lot, but possibly some other people do. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dickinson.
Yeah, I'd just like to know is in the construction of the Pilliga Road, is council using GPS, or council's graders equipped with GPS for this sort of construction?
I'll defer that to the General Manager.
Mr. Mudbutton, through the chair, as far as I know, that brand new grader is GPS'd, so they're doing a fantastic job out there. Both myself and the infrastructure director paid a visit out there last Monday. I think it was last Monday. Time flies, but yeah, absolutely fantastic job. They got about 2.5 kilometres finished closest to Pilliga, and they were well on the way. They put 4,000 tonnes of gravel down in about 36 hours. And we're well on the way to completing the next 2 kilometre section with that brand new grader, and it's doing a great job.
Any further questions, Councillor Tiemans?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just another, just further on that question. I've actually had a couple of people make comments about the line marking on our roads. Do we have GPS tracking on the line painting of the roads, or maybe a question on notice, perhaps?
Yeah, I'll take that one on notice, because our apologies for the infrastructure director, sick kids at home, so not able to make the meeting today, but yeah, we'll definitely follow that one up and get back to you. Yeah.
Councillor Lamont.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't asleep. I was concentrating to see whether Councillor Richardson is actually, are you acknowledging whether she's voting or not voting, Mr. Mayor? Is that happening? That's all?
Yeah, I'm
So she-
expecting her to
She
speak.
normally likes to
I'm expecting her to
participate.
speak up.
The minute taker can see her.
Yeah, you can see it, can you? That's all. So sorry, I wasn't. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just want to raise the issue that I've been pushing since my notice of motion back in February, March last year on Norbar Road. And Carol Armstrong, who's a bus operator going down that path, brought this to my attention ages ago, plus Nigel Guest and several others. And the engineering department or infrastructure department had been trying to organise a meeting, and they indicated that they'd sent letters out to certain people. And I followed that up after Carol got to me, and she'd heard this and she hadn't got a letter, so I don't know what's going on. But I understand the meeting, Mr. Guest has been contacted, and so has Carol, and the meeting's been set down for the 10th of September, and I thank the director for that, but in her absence. So if you can pass that on, please. And secondly, there's a constituent in Boggabri in Lynn Street, where they're having difficulty with getting their garbage. There was 3 blocks of land, one house down there, and the garbage kept getting bogged. And the council, in its wisdom, through you, Mr. General Manager, thank you very much for that. The constituent is very pleased it's now tarred and they can get their garbage. So good work for the department. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions? For or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 12.2, and the recommendation that council note the investment report for July 2023. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Tiemans, Councillor Lamont. Councillor Tiemans, would you like to speak to the motion? Any further comment for or against the motion?
Question, Mr Mayor.
Where do you want to go first, or me?
Yeah, please, because I'm sure Ted has been sitting up there doing not a lot, just worrying about budgets and things. On page 36, it says actual interest earned versus budget. I can see the budget line. I can't see the actual line. Am I missing something, or that was my question?
Through the Mayor and the GM, thanks Councillor. There is a dot just above the line for the actual, because obviously we're only in July, so there'll only be one item, and it's just above the 200,000. So yeah.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question relating to the ratings, the agency ratings on these investments. There's quite a proportion of triple B and not rated, and so not triple B plus, but triple B and not rated. I'm just wondering if we could have the finance director, through you, general manager, and the mayor, to actually comment then about, is there a transition plan in place to actually move to a higher level of A or AA or AA, well, not AA plus, but AA rated investments in our portfolio? Because my gut feeling would be, given the issues that are occurring globally with finance and the risk, the increased risk profile of low rated or not rated securities, that as a council we ought to be thinking a bit more carefully about, do we have a transition plan to a much higher rated, albeit lower rate of return?
Through the Mayor and the GM, thanks Councillor. All our investments are invested in accordance with the investment policy that Council has adopted previously, and we maintain those investments in relation to the investment policy, and have regard to all the risks, as you've stated, and the global situation at this point in time.
Any further
just
comment?
do a quick follow-up with that. I should also mention that Fannie Mae went A over T pretty quickly without much advice, in fact, any advice at all. And so, financial crises they happen very slowly, but then very, very quickly. So, my question was, is there a thought, or is there a process underway where we would begin to revise these issues and revise our exposure? Because I'm just pointing out here that, not half, but close to half of our long-term securities are in a fairly low-rated category, particularly for government to be involved in. So my question was, is there an intent to look at this and to continue to improve it, or are we just happy to sit where we are?
Again, through the Mayor and the GM, thank you. We look at it as a whole. We don't just look at it in terms of the dollar value we're going to get out of it. So we're not just looking at the highest rate. We will look at everything in its entirety. So yes, we're not weighted towards the non-rated agencies, nor are we rated. We're not just earning the quick dollar, I suppose. So in terms of a transition strategy, we are looking at, and we do prefer the rated agencies rather than the unrated or the lower rated agencies. So yeah, we are weighted that way. And additionally, because of where we're looking, we need to be able to potentially get that money out quicker if we need to.
Any further comment for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 12.3. Item 12.3, recommendation the council note the monthly financial reports for July 2023. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Lamont, seconder. Councillor Clements.
I'll just speak to it very briefly. I'd like to thank the General Manager, the CFO. We've been on about this for some time, and I did mention it this morning at the extraordinary meeting, is we need more valid information to feel comfortable, and I think the result from the meeting this morning and what the CFO has tried to do here, it's a starting point for, I think, in your early days, we did have a demonstration of what is eventually going to look like, and I look forward to that when it happens.
Thank you, councillor. Any further comment for or against the motion? Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just following up on the General Manager's commitment to a quarterly report in the future where we're looking at the adjustments, the various adjustments that would address auditor concerns. And it's just a question, what would this fit, would the General Manager's proposed report fit within the monthly financial report statement, or how would you intend to deal with that in terms of our monthly agendas? Where would it go and how would it be reported?
Sorry, excuse me. Councillor, would you be able to just repeat that question? Was that in relation to the discussion that we had this morning? Yes. I would say that that would appropriately reside somewhere after this report. Yeah.
Any further comment for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Right, item 12.4. A recommendation the council receive and note the outstanding resolution register as at 16th of August 23. And number 2, the council receive and note the completed resolution register as at 16th of August 2023. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Clements, seconder. Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Clements, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, look, thank you. It's an important part of our capacity to keep a track of progress. So I appreciate the effort staff making to putting this together and the fact that it's been cleaned up a fair bit. There were a lot of things that were laying around in it that were probably a bit old. I have one simple question to do with previous resolution of council, which I think should be in here regarding soccer and the Gately Field, where we talked about the need for a plan of management and some assistance. I raise this because the local soccer club had to give back a grant which had been offered to them by the Peak Soccer Group of some hundreds of thousands of dollars regarding lighting, because we didn't have a plan of management in place, and so the council couldn't sign off or wouldn't sign off at the time. I just point out that, you know, with the, dare I mention, the recent wonderful efforts of the Matildas and a never say die attitude, that soccer is going to get funding. There's little doubt about that. Let's make sure we're ready, and I'm aware that there is a grant coming towards that organisation now, some $60,000. That's already, there's no work to be done other than to accept it. I really do want to ensure that we get that back into the resolution register. I understand there's a plan of management for all the fields, but the resolution of council is very clear that that field, that organisation, have a plan of management. I wouldn't want to see them have to hand $60,000 back. I think they handed perhaps $160,000 back in the last 18 months because council could not or would not sign off. So I just raise that and think that it should be in the register, but I raise it for people's attention because we should never give back grants for organisations with some 340 members in that organisation, 340 playing members. Thank you.
Councillor, I was of the understanding that they had the opportunity to get that funding. They never got it, never handed it back. They had the opportunity to get it. Am I incorrect in that?
No, that was offered.
They had an opportunity to get it through an application.
Theirs, we didn't sign. And I understand that in this building there is the information that's what you just said. That's not correct. It was handed to them on plate. They couldn't progress it because we would not or could not sign off. We can't do that again. They have $60,000 about to drop in their lap. We cannot do it again. So if we could get it back in the resolution register, not get lost in the weeds of doing a plan of management for all our sporting precincts, but focus on that one because they have literally handed back hundreds of thousands of dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Lamont.
Yeah, just a couple of questions, Mr Mayor, through you to the General Manager, to the Manager governance. I still see we've got a couple of oldies in here, and they're probably complex property acquisition type deals, and no doubt they're going to eventually come out of this. The rest of the stuff is there from 21 to 22 mainly to 23, and a lot of the target dates are a bit exhausted. You know, needs to freshen up and a good look at, because as Councillor Clements said, what's really important for us, and building on this morning's meeting, is we have confidence knowing that these things are happening, and it may deter us from moving motions to have more projects so that we can deal with what we've got. And that's something that I've expressed through the General Manager before. Sometimes we get a bit carried away about grants for this and grants for that, and in actual fact, at the end of the day, we've got to make sure we can cope with what we've got and do it well.
Thank you, councillor. Any further comment for or against the motion? Councillor Clements, would you like to close out? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 12.6, 12.5, I'm sorry. The council receive and note the planning and development report for July 2023. Can I have a mover on that one, please?
Oh, sorry, I'm happy to move it, Mr Mayor, and
Councillor Lamont and seconder, Councillor Clements.
And I just speak to it briefly. It's good to see things are improving through you, Mr General Manager, the Director, and it's amazing what staff can do to help. So thank you very much for that, and keep up the good work.
Any further comment for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 12.6, the council adopt the delivery program 6 monthly progress report as attached, detailing council's progress in meeting its objectives, strategies and measures up to 30 June 2023 period. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Clements. Seconder.
Just a huge body of work, and
I'll get a seconder first, councillor. Councillor Tiemans.
if I just speak to it, a huge body of work. I thank the staff for their efforts. Yeah, a lot of reading there for councillors, and it I think shows the complexity of a lot of what's done here today. And sometimes we probably gloss over that, but there's a lot of intricate detail in there, and there are a lot of little moving parts. So thank you, and I'm sure that there may be councillors who wish to discuss matters in there. Thank you.
I'm lost here now. So I'm just having a bit of a problem here.
Mr Mayor, it's all right. I'm being patient.
Here we go.
I won't remember what I'm going to say in a minute.
Item. Okay. So where are we up to?
12.5. 12.6, Mr Mayor. Yeah.
Item 12.6. What? So moved and seconded.
Opened. Yeah, I just want to speak to the motion, Mr Mayor.
Yes. Okay, Councillor Lamont.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to say, the General Manager highlighted in a previous meeting this morning, these statistics that are in here, whilst they might seem to others out there a lot of hard reading, there's some very important detail in there. And it's a credit to the staff that they've got the skills and the experience and the tools to pull that information together. Because when you envelope everything, taking on board our conversations this morning and where we're going forward, all these little pieces are part of the pie. and they all fit in. They go back towards the general manager's performance and the CFO's performance and their own staff, and that's what motivates the staff. If you give them targets, you support them. If they can't get there, they can't get there. It doesn't mean to say that bad luck, you're gone. It's developing your staff as well. So thank you for that. Those criteria in there.
Any further comment for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 12.7, recommendation that council adopt the quarterly for 2022/23 quarterly operational and service plan progress report as attached, detailing council's progress in meeting its actions, capital works and key performance measures for 22/23. Have a mover on that one, please.
Mr. Mayor, and
Have a seconder, Councillor Tiemans.
in keeping what I was saying with the previous item, it's a similar sort of argument. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lamont. Any further comment for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 12.8. Recommendation that council note the quarterly actual v budget review statement for the period ending 30 June 2023. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Clements, Councillor Tiemans. Councillor Clements, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, look, again, important role of the councils as a governance role. Appreciate having information in front of us. So I'm a bit interested in the works I guess carried over. Just a comment on them, because we've been having a discussion about that. It's a pretty big number there, and what that means, and also what our view of when we can achieve those things.
Thank you. Would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, through the chair, I've alluded to that also in the previous two reports. I put a commentary on not only that carry forward, which is a large number, but it's also the success rate of this last 12 months in terms of what we've delivered, because it's one thing to not deliver the full capital programme, it's another thing to carry forward significant elements of it when you've got another tranche of annual delivery programme to deliver the following year. So all I will say is that the number I was presented with carry forwards a few months ago was far larger than the one we see before us in this report. And so we have limited any carry forwards very strictly to actual contractual commitments. But we will still note that the projection for that carry forward spend still has 47% of the carry forwards being spent in Q4 of this year. Now that raises significant concerns for me, so I sent a message around the whole organisation last week to identify that I'm pleased with what we've delivered this year, because it's been a very traumatic and difficult year with floods and resource issues and supply chain issues. However, we can't continue to use those as reasons for a lack of delivery, particularly a significant lack of delivery. And we also need to focus the organisation this year on learning the lessons that we learnt last year and not trying to forecast to deliver effectively 50% of our capital programme in the last 3 months of the year, because that's just not possible. So the last 12 months, from my perspective, have been a significant learning opportunity, and I will say that that's been a big learning for me. But the second 12 months of my tenure here will be a far more direct learning opportunity for those project managers that need to reflect better on projection and knowing where the risks lie in which projects and how to deliver far more closely with the operational plan projections. So it's going to be an interesting 12 months. We've now raised, because of these figures, a capital programme that we signed off in the operational plan for this year of 47 million. That now goes to 53 million. So, you know, we all know there's 52 weeks in a year, so we're projecting over $1 million a week to deliver in our capital programme this year. That's not a small ask when this organisation traditionally delivers less than 20 million in a year. So the ability to scale up and deliver is going to be a critical discussion this 12 months. It's a work in progress, and there'll be further reports coming to council with regards to those sorts of issues.
Thank you, GM.
Any further comment for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 12.9, recommendation the council revote in 2023-2024 an amount of 645,000 as identified in attachment 1 to this report from the 2022-23 Capital Works Program. Number 2, the council carry forward to the 23-24 an amount of 6,584,428 as identified in attachment 1 to this report to finalise works not completed as at the end of 22-23 financial year, and that council reduce multi-year capital project budgets in 23-24 by an amount of 51,437 for projects that exceed their projected votes at 30 June 2023 or were commenced in advance as identified in attachment 1 to this report. Have a mover on this one, please. Councillor Clements, seconder. Councillor Tiemans. Councillor Clements, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Chair. Carrying on from the previous resolution, it sort of sets a bit of a platform for this. And I'm supportive of what's being suggested here. And I note that it's important that it comes back to us, some of this, to make a decision that we do want to continue with this. And I think we certainly do want to continue with these works, and appreciate the candour of the GM's previous answer. That's a huge step up from 20 million to over 50 million. So I'm sure that there's some sleepless nights there. So appreciate your candour, and certainly I'm supportive of the proposition in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further comment for or against the motion? Councillor Lamont.
Mr Mayor, thank you very much. Budgeting has to get better so that you don't have carry forwards. You know, the expertise and the knowledge and the equipment and the plant and how you do it all. You shouldn't have a carry forward amount of that size for a council this size, in my opinion. But I hear the story, I hear the answer, and there's a lot of work being done to improve that situation.
General Manager, would you like to speak?
Yeah, look, I'm hearing everybody, and I think we're all on the same page. I think one of the interesting dynamics that I've come across in New South Wales local government is the grant dynamic, where we apply for grants and they're linked to certain projects. I think the linking of those grants to projects in the way that they have been over the last 2 years has been very difficult for an organisation like ourselves. Because once you move away from the major metropolitan areas, whilst it's great news to get $38 million, and that will appear in a report later on in the agenda, I do believe. But so we've been very successful in achieving money. But the ability of a rural organisation to scale up, to deliver that quantum, which effectively $38 million is more than 2 years' worth of capital delivery in its own right. So the ability to scale up is a big learning exercise for people, because you think with the best of intents when you accept the money that this is a great thing and we'll just get people coming in from the outside to deliver it. Actually, when everybody's got that sort of money, it's hard to be able to scale up. So I think if there's any learning lesson out of the last 12 months, people have realised it's not quite that easy to scale up to deliver these sorts of programs. But the next 12 months, I'm hoping that what we've learned in the last, we can apply to the next, and we will do better. I'm going to sort of hold my opinions on where I think we'll end up at this point in time, because I think the organisation is owed the chance to give it a go with some more guidance and some more experience behind us. But it's still a major issue for this organisation to look at and monitor.
Any further comment for or against the motion? Councillor Clements, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 12.10, donation in lieu. Recommendation that council authorise the amount totalling $1,969 be donated to the Weewar Community Sporting Complex Incorporated in this report in accordance with the donation in lieu ordinary rates policy and section 356 of the Local Government Act. And number two, that council authorise the amount totalling $40,000, 242.25 cents to be donated to Summit Community Services Inc. in this report in accordance with the donations in lieu ordinary rates policy and section 356 of the Local Government Act. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Clements, Councillor Bowen. Councillor Clements, would you like to speak to your motion?
I would. Look, the first is to do with the Weewar Community Sporting Complex, and I'm very supportive of this. The PCYC outreach program has been run through that, and it's you know, we've got sometimes over 100 children there at night, so it's a great success, and I look forward to seeing more funding going into that complex to sort out a few repair issues. And to get a better youth program presence in Weewar. In terms of the second, it's a large amount. I think Councillor Dickinson alluded to the fact that, pardon me, it's getting springish. Councillor Dickinson alluded to the fact that it would be good to see Summit resolve these issues, and that's Council's resolution today, is that you know, that we support them, but further than that, we find a way that they actually structurally get this sorted out. We shouldn't keep doing this. If we have to, we probably will, but we shouldn't have to. I see no problem in doing it today, but I think we make a plan to ensure that they are sufficiently funded, that they don't need to rely upon this sort of help. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Tiemans.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr Mayor. And, you know, I heartily agree with Councillor Clements and his comments. The Weewar, obviously, community sporting complex is very important. I think it's a small investment for what we get and the benefit that we, you know, get for the community in Weewar. I think just as a general comment towards our donations in lieu of ordinary rates, I think in the future we probably need to just investigate whether we have a bit of a breakdown as to what these donations mean. These organisations, doesn't matter where they are, whether they're a local church or you know, some other kind of organisation, or Summit, say, still receive garbage collection, still receive tip benefits, still receive a number of other things. Whether or not there's a way of being transparent around that perhaps they still are sent a rates notice around garbage collection, which still costs us a lot of money as council, or whether or not there's some other kind of mechanism in terms of delivering on this. I think it would be incumbent upon us to actually look at a way that this actually works. But we've had a great presentation from Summit this morning. It's a very worthwhile organisation. I was a past board member, no longer a member, but very valuable organisation. But you know, it's interesting. A lot of the housing that's been provided, it's been a part of a New South Wales government strategy to push it back down into local communities. A lot of those costs are borne by those local communities as well. And I think some of the governments have reneged on their responsibilities to local areas, particularly to support particularly people on low income housing, and also, you know, homelessness and support for disability. So it's very easy to push things back down to council, and the council will just cover everything. But I think we need to also push back up and say, you know, where's the support coming from? There was a suggestion this morning at the presentation that Summit gave that we also do some advocacy as a council, and basically push back up and ask where the support is coming for organisations like Summit and Challenge and a number of other organisations that do a great job in our local community. Endicas is another great organisation, but all these organisations that are really fighting hard for the vulnerable in our community. But you know, it's absolutely critical that this council doesn't just become you know, the backstop for all of the ills of this community. It's simply not something that we can bear.
Thank you, councillor. We'd probably have to look at changing our policy. They fit within our policy.
Stole my thunder.
Oh, sorry,
Mr. Mayor.
mate. Sorry about that. I should have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, you
Well, I'll drop it at that and I'll move it to you and you can reiterate.
Yeah, I
what
was just
saying.
going to mention that, sorry, I can't see my screen. Great to see that the Wee Waa Community Sporting Complex got in there. And I think we probably need to think about putting a limit in our policy for donations. Obviously, that's going to be more next year if we get another one from Summit. And look, they do some fantastic work. We can't keep up and up and up every year. It's not necessarily what we need to be doing, I don't think. But anyway, great submission this morning. Thanks.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, other councillors. Thank you, Mayor, for this item. I think it's the fundamental thing is we need to think about what is core to our purpose and what is contextual to our purpose. If this applies to business, it applies to pretty much everything. We really need to know what it is that we're meant to be doing. And I'm absolutely certain in my reading of the Local Government Act that it doesn't include endless provision for services that are government, state and federal government responsibility. So we heard before that there's a whole bunch of government agencies, federal and state, who are supporting supporting the Summit organisation. And now what we do as a council is we allow, without a whimper, this cost shift directly to our purposes. And I really feel, even though I really appreciate the work that the Summit and all these other organisations, as Councillor Timmins has talked about, you know, they're basically looking after the more vulnerable members of our society, but that is not the role of local government to sort out. I really can't find anywhere that applies to. So I don't know whether there's a modification to this. I still think that $40,000 is the wrong signal to send to our community, that we're about to support that directly without consideration. So 11 houses plus some units that we're talking about. And these properties, we are assured, are fulfilling even more special roles. And that Summit is making these particular properties making available on a peppercorn rental. So that's a bit different classification of property to what they're already paying their rates for. So if we were to approve this, then I'm just wondering whether something we should consider is that these properties would remain on the basis that they are being provided on a peppercorn rental or whatever the correct terminology is, that we could support that. But that's in a very short term, and we should not make a forward commitment to say we're going to be doing this year in and year out. So I believe this is a job for our local member, and I would really like to go straight to our local member and say, look, as a local government, we are not in a position to continue to be the fall guy for underinvestment by state and federal agencies, and I just feel quite uncomfortable with the idea that we continue down this way. Some other form of support, I think, could be much more appropriate that local government would provide to the needy and the vulnerable in our community.
Thank you, councillor. I might roll it up now with councillor Clements.
Look, I just will close quickly. I think the message is that in terms of the amount to Summit, that's something that will be under review this year, and certainly with the Commonwealth and state pronouncements, you know, such a wonderful word, pronouncements at the moment on homelessness and social housing. that's the neck of the woods this is, there surely would be the funds to deal with this. So let's just get to work on that. And that's the neck of the woods they're working in. You know, general housing's different minister in New South Wales. I'm not sure federally, but certainly there's a minister in New South Wales who his sole focus in terms of housing is exactly this. So we should be just getting to work on that. Thank you.
Okay, any further comment for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 12.11. Recommendation that council nominates councillor attendance for the 2023 Local Government New South Wales LG New South Wales Conference, annual conference taking place in Parramatta from the 12th to the 14th of November 23. Can I have a mover on this, please? Councillor Bowen and Councillor Dickinson.
So we just need to name the councillors now, because we're agreed to move it to this meeting so that we can put names in.
And do we have a limit of 3? Is that
Limit of 3,
a limit of 3 from the previous meeting?
yes.
Okay, so we've got a mover and a seconder. So who would like to go to the local government conference? Councillor Baum, Councillor Clements, Councillor Tiemens. No.
No, I won't be able to attend, thank you.
Well, Councillor Baum and Councillor Clements will probably look after the above.
I've done that.
Mr Mayor, do you go as a matter of course?
Well, I think the mayor can go as a matter of course, yeah. Okay, so we've got the 3. So if, we said 3 people. So that's Councillor Bowen, Councillor Clements and Councillor Tiemens.
Is this where we mention the resolutions?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk through it if you'd like. Thanks to the general manager, Council, I've taken the liberty to draft some potential motions for presentation at the conference around the key topics of health, affordable and social housing, and finally around the bus advocacy. I'm happy to circulate those for consideration by councillors. Unfortunately, we won't make the next program meeting. They close before the next ordinary council. So with this in mind, perhaps council would be of a mind to delegate to the general manager the authority to lodge those motions on the council's behalf once we reach consensus around the contents of same.
So that'll be an amendment to this motion.
If you delegate.
Yeah, and I was going to say, thank you to the director, through you, Mr General Manager, the director and the mayor. I'm sure there's plenty of councils will be putting motions up and they'll bundle them all together, right? Because it's a major issue in our community, what you've suggested, so well done. Go for it.
We haven't got cost shifting in there.
Cost shifting is
So is
Councillor Tiemens.
is it worth also raising the issue of crime as well, which seems to be bubbling away in the community? It might be something at least, funding for the police, etc. might be useful to put in there.
Again, through the general manager, happy to draft something up to that effect if the council is of a mind to submit something like that to the conference. So shall be guided by you.
Okay, any further?
Can we make
We-
that part of the resolution?
We'll throw that into the resolution as the mover, Councillor Bowen.
Good, thank you.
And anything to dream.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. 3B for council meetings.
Well, I mean, these things are duplicated and triplicated by every other council as well. We all generally have the same issues. Council delegate the general manager to submit.
relevant motions for national conference.
For consideration.
For consideration by elected members prior to submission for national conference.
It's the state conference.
Oh, sorry, state conference.
Mr Mayor, just while that's happening, Councillor Richardson normally has an interest in these issues. Can she hear what's going on there?
Yeah, we've been
Yeah.
communicating.
All right.
We can see this from the screen here. Yeah.
I definitely can, Councillor Lamont. I'm just waiting to point number 2 is actually finalised to the point.
If that's okay, if that's the yeah. Everyone's all over. We'll circulate them by email. We'll get the consensus back and then we'll send them up.
Okay, so we're right to go. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried.
Okay, so then we've got 108.
202, Councillor Lamont exits the room. Item 12.12, the school bus transport advocacy. Recommendation that council write to the Transport for New South Wales and relevant ministers to highlight challenges with accessing suitable school bus transport between Wee-Waa and Narrabri and request the reallocation of the existing underutilised bus asset to urgently establish this service. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Bowen. Councillor Dickinson. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Bowen?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor. Until this meeting, I hadn't really become aware of this, and who would imagine that Wee-Waa would become the competitive place for education? But it's a great thing. It's a great move, and so. Well, Councillor Clements says that it would be the odd one out in that call. But having driven past this facility a few times in the last little while, I'm thinking, oh my God, this looks like this could be a real thing. And so I think it's really good. I think a locally competitive framework for education, secondary education, is a great move for us. I think it will help put focus on Narrabri as a school, as an education centre, and all strength to the great folk of Wee-Waa to actually have this opportunity. And I would be very supportive of advocating for the instatement of this transport. And who knows, they could very easily fill that bus up every day, and it would be a tremendous move for our community, I'm pretty sure.
Thank you, Councillor. I'd just like to speak on this too, if I could. I may have a pecuniary interest in that. My mum and dad had a school bus run for 45 years running out of Balata, but okay, all right. but it's a great thing to have. The issue we face, excuse me, the issue we face within the growth of community is higher education, especially, and having choices. And having that choice of Wee-Waa in such a beautiful school, it'll give great opportunity, I believe, to Wee-Waa, with the generation of people and things going on up there with regard to so many more kids potentially going there and what that brings, the snowball effect of that. And I highly advocate that we work hard at getting this bus sorted out for the Wee-Waa, for the whole Shire and the community, to give them those choices, and it'll be a good thing for our future and for the choices into the future and for the choices of people who are thinking about where they send their children. All they've got to do is, as Councillor Bowen says, go and have a bit of a look at that school, and they'll be blown away by what it looks like and the opportunities that are there. That's all I've got to say about it. Any further comment for or against the motion? Councillor Tiemans?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I don't have a conflict of interest. My partner went to Wee Waa High, and my mother-in-law taught at Wee Waa High, and I know a lot of people that went to, and I just think it's parents with school-age kids, obviously one of their greatest desires is to actually have a bit of choice. Whether or not it's a choice of, being able to send your kids to the Catholic school or send your kids to the West Public School or the Narrabri Public School or, Wee Waa Public School. Like, people like choice. Otherwise, they do feel trapped, and it's great. And, sometimes a kid may not fit in a particular school and they would just simply like to be able to have the choice. Now, I don't, thinking about my sister and brother-in-law who live in Sydney. They've got they're looking at their kids at the moment, where they're going to send their kids. They've got a choice of 50, 60, 70 schools to choose from. Here, we don't have many choices unless you want to send your kids off to, boarding school, etc. So giving people choice is absolutely essential, and I think it is. I think it's high time that school buses were used as a way of providing choice. The Gunnedah School has the Gunnedah schools obviously have 2 bus runs a day, and it's that's all. It's all very good. It gives people a sense of choice. If they want to send their kids to St Mary's or they want to send their kids to Gunnedah High School, that's fine. But at the moment, Wee Waa High School doesn't receive that, and I just think it's. We've heard from the 2 mothers here this morning where they were literally saying they were nervous about. Having their children waiting on the side of the highway. I'd be nervous as an adult waiting on the side of the highway for 20 minutes. So I think it's incumbent on us to use our role as a council to advocate up and to put some serious pressure on government to put this. This is the minimum. They should probably have two runs a day or something. But let's hope that we can basically we can get the local member, we can get the minister, we can get the head of department, etc. listening to what this community is trying to say. We would like some choices in terms of the way we, where we send our kids, and transport, and having a bus run is one step in the right direction. So,
thank you, Councillor. Would you like to
Mayor,
speak
I'd
on
like
this?
to say something too.
Councillor Richardson?
Thank you. In full support of this, I think we have one of probably the best high schools getting opened in Wee Waa in our state, I'm going to say. But if we're not populating it with students, the education system isn't going to staff it. So we need to make sure that in our shire, we have the ability to send our own children and grow our own for this school. As I think it was Councillor Tiemann said, we've got multiple buses from Narrabri to Gunnedah High Schools. Why are we not got one from Narrabri to Wee Waa? I think it's going to be great for our community. All those extracurricular activities that students could do with an hour less travel every day, the sleep that they could get, the education that they could get, I think it's all a positive, and we need to fully back it and get it up and running now so it's ready once that high school's opened.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thanks,
Director.
Mr Mayor, through the General Manager. Just wanted to bring it to Council's attention that following the completion of this report to Council, the Bus Industry Task Force has in fact released its first report and touches on some of the challenges that the community is having here. I'll arrange for that Task Force report to be circulated, and we can also prepare a submission to that Task Force to provide local feedback and inform the task force activities. So we'll coordinate that as well as part of our advocacy activities.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Clements?
Thank you. Look, I support the motion. I, in my declarations, state very clearly that I have nothing to do with the work of the local member's office in terms of day-to-day constituent issues, and I don't. I do have a right of political affiliation. I've actually talked to the member. This is in front of him already. I think it's actually already in front of the minister from the member. I think it's a great idea. We've done a few of these, so with my day job hat on, we've done a few of these across Western New South Wales. Department of Education can be very sticky on transfers, what they see as transfers between schools. Often that's actually the sticking point. It's not the willingness of a bus proprietor or the capacity to fund. It's actually the refusal of the Department of Education to acknowledge the transfer. We have a case just west of here where that was exactly the situation. They refused to acknowledge and encourage the transfer between towns. So I think, you know, these things just need to be worked out methodically. It's in front of the relevant minister, and certainly council can only add to those voices and that strength. It's a fantastic looking new building. We look forward to populating it with students and making it viable and valuable. And I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any further questions or comments for or against the motion? Councillor Dickinson.
Yeah, just like the comment that it's currently a bus that runs from Wee Waa, bringing children to Narrabri High School, and perhaps some of those children could be catching the bus if it eventuates that goes from Narrabri to Wee Waa. The bus that goes from Narrabri to Gunnedah is predominantly, well, I'm just about to say all of it, the large bus is all children that go to the Catholic school. I don't know if I agree with some of those children coming back and going to the Wee Waa school. Might be a bit different. But, yeah, just the thought.
Thank you, councillor. Any further comment for or against the motion? Councillor Bowen, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. So 114. I've jumped the gun here. Okay, recommendation item 12.3 that council endorse the draft council interactions with property developers and lobbyist policy to be placed on public exhibition for a period of at least 28 days prior to adoption by council. And that number 2, that a further report be tabled to council following the exhibition period to consider any public submissions. Could someone grab Councillor Lamont, please?
We don't really look forward to that.
Sorry, we jumped the gun there. I'll reread that. Item 12.3, recommendation that council endorse the draft council interaction with property developers and lobbyist policy to be placed on public exhibition for a period of 28 days prior to adoption by council, and that number 2, that a further report be tabled to council following the exhibition period to consider any public submissions. Can I have a mover on that one? Councillor Clements, seconder. Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Clements.
Look, I think the staff, particularly our wonderful governance risk team, this is a key risk for councillors and for councils. I will recount, I was a councillor from 2008 to 2012. There was a property developer who was quite publicly interested in doing something here, and he used to ring me and talk to me. And I used to make notes and send them to the GM and ask that they be registered. When it got to the pointy end of that, this person rang me up and said, "I'd hate you to be in an awkward position. You've had these conversations maybe you shouldn't have had. Can I expect your support?" And I said, "Well, the wonderful news is every one of them has been written up and gone to the general manager. So you may or may not have my support, but don't ever threaten me again." It's so simple for these things to occur, and governance is such an important thing, and it's such a simple thing, but it's not hard to go wrong if you don't have a little bit of guideposts on either side of the road to keep you in the middle. I would look forward to in a workshop running through just the practicalities of this for councillors, where we can test a few things, work out where the edges of it are, if there are edges. When's a casual conversation become a reportable conversation, things like that I think would be very helpful, but I think it's a great initiative. Happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any further comment for or against the motion? Councillor Timmins.
Yes, I am very strongly in support of this as well. I would say with a caveat that I would suggest it's possibly a little bit premature. OLG OLG are drafting their own version of this, and I'm a little bit concerned that we're rushing in doing this before we know what we're mandated to do. And I'm just a little bit just concerned that we're not necessarily adopting best practice. We're having a crack at our own version of it, but we're not necessarily adopting the OLG version, which will be incumbent upon our council to enact. So that's my concern with it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bowen?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm definitely in support of this. I don't have those reservations that Councillor Timmins has alluded to. I think if there's one place, well, we've talked already today about one place where council and administration can slip up with poor governance, and this is probably the other one, is where where relationships between lobbyists and councillors and staff get into a pattern whereby the effective decision making is compromised, and I would think that this policy is for the protection of our staff every bit as for councillors themselves, and in my reading of it, it's pretty clear, unambiguous, that yes, OLG might come up with another plan or another version of it, which we could quite clearly adopt. But I think today's the day we need to really make sure we've got this line in the sand drawn, and as I said earlier today, you can draw a line in the sand, but for goodness sake, don't put your head in it. So this is the important thing, is we need to be really clear-eyed and make sure there has been some potential instances of this over the last number of years that I've heard about, where these sort of things could have been breached, and I think it's time we had a really clear and an unambiguous policy to implement. So I'm going to be very strongly supportive of it.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further comment for or against? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. So we'll move on to our supplementary agenda, councillors. A supplementary agenda, it's at the bottom of your...
12.14.
It'll be at the bottom of your list there on your iPad. So it's item 12.414, determination of number of councillors following the 2024 local government elections. Each time there's an election, there's always a determination of the number of councillors that you want. In 2016, it went from 12 to 9, and this takes a number of years to go through, a number of election cycles to go through, but it's just a requirement that we have to do at this time. So the recommendation that council determines the number of councillors of Narrabri Shire Council for the 24 to 28 term to be 9 councillors, one of whom will be the mayor, pursuant to the S22(4) in brackets 2 of the Local Governments Act. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Timmins, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Timmins, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. It's just we're literally we're just confirming, the practice of this shire to have a a number of 9. So I don't think it's a big deal. I think it would be unmanageable if we had any more than 9.
Any further comment for or against the motion? Councillor Clements.
You just briefly, look, I support retaining the same number of councillors. I think it gives a good opportunity for smaller communities to effectively be able to put a local person in. That's certainly the way Boggabri looks at it. Weewaw to some degree, but certainly Boggabri looks at it that way.
Well, you've experienced both, haven't you?
Yeah, I was a Narrowar councillor last time. I picked my votes up about 50-50, but anyway, this time round Weewaw councillor, but always a Weewaw councillor. So, yeah, I think the balance is good. Any less, and you would lose representation in a smaller communities, I'm sure. There's a mood against having more. So I'm quite content with 9, and my contentment is in large reason due to the fact that the smaller communities actually get some effective representation of these numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any further comment for or against? I'll put the motion. Councillor Tiemans. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Back on the normal agenda now. Item 13.1. The council note the proposed calendar of events for the Tourism and Cultural Services team. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Clements. Councillor Dickinson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah. Yes, only that could I ask the cultural team to also include those dates of the show societies, agricultural shows, because they're usually picked years in advance. And it's a shame that this weekend Nosh clashes with Wee Waa Show, which will be massive, I can assure you, the Wee Waa Show.
The Nosh will be the one that misses out, mate.
Yes, most probably.
Absolutely.
Most probably.
Are you still okay with that?
No, not at all.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard to get the dates for the agricultural shows or the muster, the drovers camp, or Nosh, I would imagine.
I remember once the Nosh clashed with the picnic races here in Narrabri too, a few years ago. So.
Not be Nosh around, I imagine.
I think we can say you can pick your food up and wash and
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so any further comment for or against that motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 13.2, application for concessional use of the Crossing Theatre, that council approve the concessional use rate of 50% to room hire fees for St Francis Xavier School. Can I have a mover on that one? Councillor Tiemans, Councillor Dickinson. Speak to the motion, councillor.
No, I think it's self-explanatory. Supporting the school for the use of those of the Crossing Theatre. It's a great use for what is our town hall. So,
Thank you, councillor. Any further comment for or against? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 13.3, that the recommendation that council adopt the roadside vegetation management policy as attached to this report. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Tiemans.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, you can, councillor.
I mean, roadside vegetation management. Do we need a policy, or is it just not obvious? Because do we have a roads grading policy or a footpath cleaning policy, or there just seems to be a lot of policies. This seems to be, why does it need a policy? I know the director's not here, but I'm just wondering why we need a policy for roadside vegetation.
Through the general manager might be able to comment on that one.
Through the chair, look, I've spent my life trying to be a bureaucracy buster. So if there's considered no need to have a policy, then that just resides in the area of operational management to get on with it. I'm perfectly sort of satisfied and comfortable with that particular position. However, the matter has been raised over a reasonable period of time through council workshops in particular of late, and staff had a policy that was on the go, so it was considered prudent to bring it back to council to see if we do want to firm up on the service standards for the road vegetation management activities. But if you're comfortable in terms of leaving it in the hands of the GM to ensure operational outcomes, then hey, let's
I'd be very
have a
comfortable with
cancel
that.
culture to bureaucracy.
Be very comfortable not having another policy, because that policy might restrict the opportunity to do things when you want to do them.
Mayor,
Councillor Councillor Bowen, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I do support where the General Manager's coming from. I would be supportive of a vegetation management policy overarching, which really covers a whole lot more things. But the idea that roadsides would be signalled out, I think, is unnecessary. There are there's numerous state legislation that has to be complied with anyway, and different agencies within the state usually have their say. And I think providing we as a Shire comply with the existing laws of the state through the guidance of the General Manager and Directors, then we ought to be comfortable with that. And I would argue that we actually just don't seek to adopt the policy at all.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Clements?
Look, it seems to make perfect sense, and I'm ambivalent either way as to whether we simply just leave it as written that that's what you're going to do and you do it, or whether we have it formally as a policy. I'm not bothered either way. Looks eminently sensible. I'm sure you're aware of the laws and mindful of them. So I'm in the.
So through the chair, we do not have a seconder at this point in time. So if we do not achieve a seconder, then this policy will disappear to the
I'm quite happy
General
to,
Manager's filing cabinet and will be pulled
unmove
out as an operational document whenever required.
I'm happy to unmove it.
Are we happy to go down that pathway, councillors? I agree.
And Eloise won't be, I mean, is there,
Doesn't matter.
what led to this? Yeah. I just don't understand the reasoning.
It arose because it was raised over a number of occasions over a period of weeks. So it was felt appropriate to offer the elected members the opportunity to have input into the roadside management activity.
So we're comfortable with not having a seconder and just moving on? Okay, I'm comfortable with that too. We don't have a seconder, so we don't reach it's gone now to the ether.
Motion left.
The General Manager's filing cabinet. I've already lost the key.
Okay,
It's good. Sorry, I'm falling off the pace here. So
I'm on it, mate. That's 143. Thank you. Item 13.4. The recommendation that Council endorse the investigation into the establishment of a high pedestrian activity area, acronym HPAA, 40 kilometre an hour section in the Narrabri CBD. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Bowen. Councillor Dickinson, would you like to speak to the motion? To your motion?
This came to the traffic committee and we all agreed on it. I like the bit here that says Transport for New South Wales can pay. I like that idea. So I'm pretty sure everyone does 40 k's down the main street anyway, so it's not going to make a great deal of difference, and the community should appreciate.
Yep. Any further comment for or against the motion? I'll put the
Yeah, I do,
motion.
Mayor Campbell.
Councillor Richardson?
I thought we have already voted to do the 40 kilometre speed limit. I thought that has already been.
We spoke
everyone
about
else.
it, Councillor.
through the chair, it was raised at a council briefing session and hence the paper to a council meeting.
Okay, sorry, forgive me then.
You're forgiven. Okay, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 13.5, proposed new road name, Brooks Close. The recommendation 1, that council receive and note the report on the naming of a new, of a new street in a subdivision of Old Gunnedah Road, Narrabri. The council named the road Brooks Close, and that council formally advised the Geographical Names Board of its intention to name the new road Brooks Close, and in the event that the road name is not accepted, that the General Manager be delegated to select a suitable name in line with the council's naming public asset policy. Former Councillor Brooks is looking over us over there, so be careful what you say. Could I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Dickinson, Councillor Tiemens. Councillor Dickinson, would you like to speak to the motion? Any further comment for or against? Councillor Bowen?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just looking at the actual documentation associated with this, and the actual document seems to be in conflict with the motion itself, because I'm asking for some clarification with the appropriate director if possible. It identifies there that the preferred name is Capitar Close, and the alternate name is Brooks Close. I'm just wanting to get clarification as to how we ended up with Brooks Close, because I'd certainly not want to see anything called Capitar Close, given that that might be the a name of a future subdivision. But if I could just get a bit of clarity on that point.
Through the General Manager, the Director.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through the General Manager, happy to speak to this one. So I've assisted the Property Officer through the process. As part of the naming convention and selection, there is a portal operated by the Geographical Names Board. The first request was inputted into the portal, and there were two conflicts in terms of Capitar Close and Old Capitar Road, I believe. So essentially those names have been taken and unlikely to be successful once a application was made. Consequently, a second application was made under Brooks Close, which indicated that there were no conflicts, and staff are of the view that it's likely to meet the relevant naming criteria. So that's how the staff arrived at Brooks Close.
Thank you, Director. Any further comment for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. Councillor Dickinson. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried.
You get around with St George at the moment, and everyone's
Item 14.1. A notice of motion with regard to Yarry Lake garbage bins from Councillor Browning. The motion that council supply 40 wheelie bins for the Yarry Lake Trust. I'm assuming you'll move that one, Councillor, seconded by Councillor Tiemens. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor?
Yeah, I guess. I guess the Yarry Lake Trust is not a for-profit organisation again, so they're looking for any donations they can possibly get. It's been, I think, 15 years since their bins have been replaced, and they're just looking to replace some garbage bins with the 240 litre size bins. And I don't know if that's the cost to council, that cost there, but yeah, I guess whatever the garbage bins are worth, $60 each or whatever they're worth. Is that the cost to council? It is. Yep. But anyway, they would much appreciate that donation. Yeah, I did. Yep.
So we might just amend that to supply 240 litre wheelie bins.
I have a question as well, when you're ready, please, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. So I'm in support of this. I think having more bins available causes less litter, because it's a beautiful area. I just want to clarify with what Councillor Browning said. Are these replacing old ones, or are these an additional ones?
the old ones are basically red.
Darryl?
Oh, sorry, you wanted to.
They are replacing the old ones.
Darryl?
They are replacing the old ones, councillor. The old ones are now wrecked. They're probably 15 years old.
Yeah, I think this should just be standard. I think it shouldn't even be a ordinary council meeting matter. If they've already got them, there should be no issues. And yeah, again, fully in support of supplying them the new 240 litre bins.
The Master, who pays for them, councillor?
Through the chair, just to clarify, it's because they don't fall into the council service area for the waste contract, the waste collection contract. So the trust will basically use those wheelie bins, and they will empty them into their larger bins, the commercial bins that they have at various points around the lake.
Oh, thank you, Jim, for that clarification.
Thank you, councillor.
I was just going to say, I think this is an excellent motion. I think anyone, just about the whole Shire spends time at Yarry Lake, and I think the Trust do such a great job of all volunteering their time to do this, and I think this is just about the least that we can do as a Shire to support what is such a great asset for the people of the Narrabri Shire. So.
Thank you, councillor. Any further comments, councillor Dickinson?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, although it may open us up to other trusts in the area wanting the same request.
Clarification, Mr Mayor. When you're talking about the true cost of council, do they pick up or we deliver? Because if we deliver, there's another cost, or is that the delivery cost? I know it sounds
I'm sure.
And the second, yeah, I thought that you probably got the truck for them. The other part is the garbage service is run as a self-funding entity. Is there funds in the garbage service to do this? Otherwise, it might be $2,000 in deficit. That's all I'm saying. But I support the motion, Mr Mayor. I'm sure we can sort it out.
Okay, so it seems everyone's quite happy with that motion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 14.2. Recommendation that council endorse the draft 2023 waste strategy to be placed on no less than, to be placed on no less than 28 days public exhibition. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Clements, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Clements, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. Very briefly, Mr Chair. Look, it looks a well-structured strategy, but I look forward to hearing from the public comments, and I'm sure they will make comments. So let's have a look at that when it comes back. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. Any further comments for or against the motion? I'll put the motion, Councillor Clements. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 14.3. The recommendation that council prepare a planning proposal to amend the Narrabri Local Environmental Plan 2012 pursuant to a section 3.33 of the Environmental Planning Assessment Act to permit the land use retail premises on lots 10, 11, DP 12342823, 10 and 11 Caroline Way, Narrabri. Number 2, that council forward the planning proposal to the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment, accompanied by a request for a gateway determination pursuant to section 3.34 of the Environmental Planning Assessment Act. Number 3, that council undertake community and government agency consultation in accordance with the requirements of the gateway determination and council's adopted policy, and 4, that council consider a further report on the results of the community consultation. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Dickinson, seconded Councillor Tiemans. Councillor Dickinson, would you like to speak to it?
Through you, Mr Mayor, question to the director, the General Manager of the Director. If council staff did a planning proposal in-house, is that normal practice?
Through the,
And if so, what would be the cost?
the GM, yep, very standard practice, have done a number of them during my career, particularly where there's matters of specific strategic need or interest. The cost, I would suggest, would be cheaper than actually going out to external consultants at the moment. So we certainly do have the skills and capability in-house to progress this matter.
So it's not something that the
Hold on, councillor.
overall developer would have to pay. It's something we do. Is that what you're saying?
Through the GM, that's correct. As I mentioned, where there's opportunities that are identified and needs, and I think that's clearly articulated in our draft economic development strategy as well, that we can progress such matters in-house.
Councillor Clements.
Look, I'm just, curious about the decision we're making. Do we always do this for proponents, or?
Thanks. Through the GM, I think I've answered that already. It is a circumstance where we can make a decision to do that where there's strategic benefit. Staff believe that there is strategic benefit in this case, given that Bunnings, newly constructed, has created some opportunities and an anchor on the on our gateway area, and there's currently inadequate land within the CBD to facilitate big box retail, small format stores, so that's accommodating a specific community need.
So what I would like to understand, and perhaps for a later day, we're making a decision here to effectively create a retail precinct, swinging off another business. I mean, I'm just not sure whether we've just walked into something that easily, or whether that's a decision we take more strategically. I don't particularly have a view either way. I just think we're making a decision to create a retail precinct, and I don't know whether we've really talked about that other than here it is. Thank you.
Thanks. Through the General Manager again, as staff are of the view that it does address a need and an opportunity. It's also been analysed against the relevant strategic plans, including our community strategic plan. Once again, there will be an opportunity for the matter to be exhibited and put out to comment by for the community to come back in addition to other government agencies. There is quite a rigorous process around gateway determinations for planning proposals. It has to jump a number of hurdles. Economic impact will be one such hurdle that will have to be addressed in the strategy. So it's a fairly robust and structured process for exactly that reason, to make sure that we're not undermining the integrity of our CBD areas or creating issues that become a problematic one for us later on.
Councillor Teeman, Councillor Bowen.
Well, thanks, Mayor. I'm quite troubled by this, that the council would be preparing the planning proposal, because I'm absolutely sure if it was me, I'd be paying. I'm sure if it was anybody else, they'd be paying as well. So I just don't think that it should be our approach as a council that we pay the development costs of developers. It's just not how the world should work, I don't believe. The actual cost of preparing all the development proposal work, all of that activity really is counted then to the whole, and we've seen this report already, how many other planning applications there are in the system. I'd much rather our meagre but eager and well-qualified staff are really focused on those applications where individuals are paying their freight. I actually think the developer should pay the freight, the whole lot of it. The second part of my great concern at this point is the fact that we're currently trying to understand how we would set up a flood management plan for the area. in fact the whole CBD and the whole town. And very clearly in the determination, the information given to us by our consultants in the flood area is if in the flood planning process, is that they're talking about that particular part of Narrabri that is really highly subject to major flooding activities, and and particularly given the impact of the Inland Rail, which is still not completely known of what that would be. Here we are setting up big box retail right in the middle of a flood zone. I mean, that is, to me, that is planning. I think that the planning developer needs to pay for all of that freight. If this was in a precinct, another part of town, for example, that didn't have those mitigating factors, then I'd be probably less concerned. But the last thing I would want this council to do is to support a planning proposal for a big box retail development in the middle of a floodway. That's just, to me, this is just not the way we should travel as a council. It's giving all the wrong messages, you know, it's our problem going a long way back that we allowed for that subdivision to take place. It was a great place because it was on the highway and all those things, but it's created significant problems, particularly in terms of flooding. And for me, it's the wrong direction to take, quite wrong, and you know, on a number of levels. So, and as Councillor Clement said, are we walking into a whole new scenario where that entire area now becomes big box retail, which it wasn't originally zoned for? Now, if a developer wants to put up a machinery sales place and you've got a whole bunch of vehicles in there that can be moved and there's no peril to life or limb because of a flood, different story. But the zoning on that part of land to me is quite appropriate. And it ought not to be upgraded for any reason that I can see. And you say that there's demand and there's interest and there's all these sorts of things happening. That to me shouldn't be the decision we make, because people who make commercial decisions. They take the risk. It's their dollars. They ought to be paying for it, the whole lot of it. And virtually any other town in New South Wales, I think, would come up with the same idea, that the council putting their resources into creating planning proposals for developers, to me, is quite fraught with problems. And we've just got a new policy on developers association with councils. I think the further we can get away with our staff and our councillors with developers, the better off we'll always be. So I'm definitely not supporting this proposal.
I don't think it had anything to do with an approach from the developer or anything like that. It's just a precinct over there that wants to capture the throughput of Bunnings. You can't put, say, a Harvey Norman there at the moment, which was always thought the case that you could. So under the current planning agreements, you can't put a Harvey Norman there. You can't put a number of other sort of big ticket items that we grow. A Target, for example, you can't put a Target there. Hypothetically, we don't have the space in town. Those opportunities for our community are highly sought and highly thought of, and they really want them. We've got to find. This is about trying to facilitate those retail outlets. Now, you can have a retail outlet over there, but it's got to be associated with a manufacturing outlet. So you would think that Bunnings is a retail outlet, but it's not. It's a hardware, so it sits in a different place. People want highway frontage. That's a positive thing for people. We live in a flood. The main street's going to flood. That's going to flood. Everywhere's going to flood, and we can't get bogged down in that. This is an opportunity to enable commercial things like Harvey Norman, like Target, like Aldi, that can run off the back of Bunnings, and pick up a huge amount of custom that runs through their premise. That's sort of what it is, and it will be strategically of benefit to our community to have those facilities here. it'll keep us going on that growth. If we don't have places to do that, and we currently don't, we lack the opportunity for growth, and we have developers sort of walking past because there's really nowhere to do what they want to do, and they're those big ticket items. So I'm for the motion and it's a slight change to enable those Harvey Norman's, Targets, those sort of places to have the opportunity to build out there and jump on the back of Bunnings. Councillor Tiemans.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just would like to commend the work of the planning director in this. I just think it's excellent work where we are looking at we're looking at the LEP not as handcuffs but as a platform for opportunity to develop jobs and build businesses, etc. And I take a completely contrary view to some of the other comments I've heard today. I've often heard it in this council chamber that business opportunities have gone to Moree, or they've gone to Gunnedah, or they've gone elsewhere. Here we've got a situation where the council has shown has been on the front foot with some initiative around potential opportunities for businesses around in that particular area. I really hope we get a really good employer of young families setting up who want to set something up. I'm intrigued as to what that business is going to be. It sounds interesting, but I strongly support this rezoning. I think it's a smart idea. This is the type of stuff that we need to be doing as a council. We need to be on the front foot. We need to be trying to attract business, not trying to push them away. That's exactly what this council should be trying to do, is trying to build jobs. We talk about, I've heard some members get quite against certain types of businesses being located in this shire. This shire prides itself on being a diverse economy, and we've got to try and attract diverse businesses. So if we can try and show some flexibility and show that we are open for business as a shire, then I think that is absolutely excellent, and I really commend this, and I will strongly be supporting this motion.
Councillor Dickinson.
Yeah, I suppose I'll get to round it off, don't I?
I'll have a talk before closing, please.
Not yet, but anyway, okay. Retail premises. It says here in the documentation that there's garden centres, hardware and building supplies, landscape materials, markets, plant nurseries, roadside stalls, rural supplies, shops, specialty retail premises, timber yards. Aren't some of these things already out there? I don't really know what the problem is, and if the proponent was going to build out of flood, everyone around them has the opportunity to object to what happens on that block of land. If they don't get that, the building goes up, doesn't it? Is that correct?
Answer that. Thanks, Councillor Dickinson. There would need to be some additional flooding information provided in support of the planning proposal in order for the department to make their gateway determination. So that issue of cumulative impact, the issue of any fill that might be placed on the land or otherwise would be considered as part of the department's determination.
Thank you, Director. That's what I thought. Narrabri's in a bad spot. We can't do anything about that, but we have to make sure we don't crucify ourselves by stopping other people coming to town either. So I'll support it.
Councillor Richardson.
Thank you. I just have a question, and maybe this needs to be postponed to a closed session. Hearing different arguments, is this something that council is doing to be proactive to encourage a retailer, or what can be a retail premises, to come to our shire? So we are ready when they say, we want land here to build our store. Or is this something a retailer has come to us and said, find us land and we will build? I'm just confused. Are we being proactive, or are we sort of succumbing to a demand of someone?
Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, thanks. Through the general manager, there has been no formal approach from a developer. This initiative is essentially around being shovel ready. Having listened to council's desires over the last couple of years about being open for business, being ready for opportunities that come along, staff were of the view that this would facilitate the establishment of premises that would service the Narrabri community and surround. So yes, in effect, it's about being ready to go.
Proactive.
Thank you, Director Osling. I think, especially if we're trying to be proactive, we need to support you and your team to do this, because we have asked on several occasions, how can we be ready for these big businesses? How can we attain big business or even small business who need land to our shire? This is something they won't be able to build outside of a flood risk management that they would have to supply when they do a DA as well. This is just about the rezoning of the land to say, yes, we have land available, here it is, this is the cost, etc., etc. When they do the DA, the proponent, will need to supply evidence of how they are going to be flood effective.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Browning?
I agree with most things, other than I don't think anyone's really looking at, we've just put forward this flood mitigation stuff, and here we are, we're going to bang something else smack bang in the middle of a floodway again. The question was asked at a meeting about the dirt that has already been put onto that block, which there is no DA for. There's been no answer to that. And also, there are other areas that businesses can go to. There is a block actually over on the hill in the west, which is on the highway frontage, again, which would be probably the best proposition for anybody to go into because it's flood free. We're looking at this residential stuff, or trying to get this residential stuff through in a flood free area. I can't see why we're pushing something in a flood area when it goes against everything that council and the flood committee voted for. That's me.
Councillor Lamont.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I just have a question. With items 3 and 4, particularly the consultation, is that something you do after you've done the work on the planning proposal, or can that be something you put out on exhibition before the planning proposal work is done, to gauge the feedback from the community? And you know what it's like, probably 90% or maybe even 1% reply, and then after the event's been approved, then all of a sudden 90% want to whinge. But the issue is about flooding. Flooding is not as important in commercial or industrial areas as residential. However, to Narrabri, that is a flood zone out there. It's a very important issue. And it's something we have to carefully consider. And as Councillor Clements said there a while ago, what are we getting ourselves into? Now, whilst the staff have demonstrated great initiative here in trying to be shovel ready for something, I think there's a couple of other little bits and pieces that need to be considered, that we don't put the cart before the horse. We've got to get the cart loaded. And can we consult or put expressions of interest out there? It's not our land, is it? No. It's someone else's land. Do they know what's proposed here? You know, they do. You nodded your head. They do or they don't?
They do not. Thank you.
They do not know. Well, can we do that? You know, can we grab someone's land and say, look, we want to go out there without following the proper process of the LEP amendments? They're the issues that go through the gateway. So I'd like to get clarified.
So if I can just say something. So we're always looking for industrial land, that's fine. Something's going to be built out there anyway. It's a block of land, something's going to be built out there. There's land available, it will be built on. Now, we're just trying to determine as to what that might be. We're given a more of an opportunity as to what that will be. Currently, they can do under the planning things that we have in place now, they can build out there, and they're going to build out there. This is just being proactive in a subtle change to allow those bigger retail outlets that this community is crying out for. an Aldi, a Target, a Harvey Norman, whatever it might be, that people are driving to Gunnedah for all the time. The people are literally going to build there. We're not determining whether you can build there or not. We're determining what can be built there. Currently, plenty of things can be built there. This is a slight adjustment to enable those premises that we're looking for in this community to have the opportunity to build there. There's been no approach on anything like this. This is just a proactive move by the planning department to facilitate what the community needs and what this council has been talking about since we've been here and in the past as well. They will build on it anyway.
Mr Mayor, if I can just also answer Councillor Lamont's question. In it, we can prepare a precinct-specific strategy that looks at the whole of that neighbourhood. That would be a specific body of work that would be require a budget allocation. So if council was of a mind to do something like that in the future, we can certainly park this proposal and have it embedded into some sort of future strategy in the next couple of years.
Everyone's had a talk about it. I think we've talked it through. Surely we've talked it through. So let's put the motion. Unless you got a closing comment, Councillor Dickinson. We can talk.
Sorry, can I also interrupt Mayor Campbell?
Yes, Councillor, you've spoken as well on it. And as the trying to progress this meeting along, I think we need to put the motion. We've spoken enough on it. The director has given plenty of conversation on it. We've spoken at length with each and every councillor, some of them on a number of occasions, including myself. Let's put the motion. Councillor Dickinson, have you got any closing comments to make? No? All right, well then I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 14.4, recommendation that council endorse the Drinking Water Management System 2023. I thought I was going to read policy then, but I thought I wouldn't.
So through the chair, in the director's absence, this is just an update of the existing management document.
Well, Councillor Dickinson and I reached for a bottle of water and that was announced, so that was appropriate. Okay, so can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Clements, thank you. Councillor Dickinson, thank you. Councillor Clements, would you like to speak to the motion?
No.
Okay. Any further comment for or against the motion? Remembering if you do speak to the motion, you have a sip of water first. Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Gee, that's a big thing.
5283.
Items 14.5, recommendation the council receive and note the regulatory service report for July 23. 23. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Bowen, Councillor Tiemans. Speak to the motion, Councillor.
Yeah, look, this is, it's all good to see. This is what I call core. work for council. This is what we ought to be doing, focusing on doing well and doing it right. So, yep, I think it's good work to review and good work to see really what's happening in these important departments. So I endorse it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Tiemens.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I would say is just, it might be a suggestion. It might be nice to see month on month or year on year numbers against these, so we know whether there's an uptick or a downtick or what. You know, it kind of gives us a bit of a sense of context, because I've got no idea whether one dog euthanased is a lot of dogs euthanased. Like, it'd be good to have a sense.
Well, it's not, mate.
Isn't it?
It's
Right.
not.
I'd just like to know that.
Just one dog.
Well, that dog was pretty significant.
Just a query, please. Let me adjust myself here. What do we have? Complaints received by council. We had 67, 58 on dogs and 9 on cats. The average time to respond in days, is that 0? Like, it just happens immediately, does it? Or? Explain. That was all.
Well, it obviously happens during that day because it's on
Immediately.
response time on
They've done a
days.
fantastic job.
So they respond within that day.
Right. Drone with a laser.
Me neither.
Me either. Any further comment for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour, against, motion carried. Item 15.1, recommendation the council receive and note the grant activity report for the financial year 22-23. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Tiemens, Councillor Lamont. Councillor Tiemens, would you like to speak to your motion?
I think we've largely covered that. I mean, almost $58 million worth of applications. It's a poison chalice, really, with those grants, and it's I think we've spoken about that, how we're going to be a little bit more strategic in terms of some of our grant applications in the future and get some better processes in place. So it sounds good.
Through the chair, it's not so much applying for grants. It's making sure that they're not linked with particular timeframes. So unlinked grants would be far better than a targeted grant that requires a particular outcome, particularly in terms of the requirement for upscaling the operations to the extent that this amount of money does require. So they can be a poison chalice. We always have to be aware when we're looking at funding, particularly in two areas. One is the amount of co-funding that it requires and the operational costs that go with that. And then the other one is the upscaling that it requires to deliver the activity if it's linked to a particular outcome. But other than that, I think it's worthwhile noting that this was a successful outcome with the outlook that the council had at that time. It was a specific brief. We'd like to see some money coming in if we can out of the post-COVID era. So it is a good news story. However, it does create its problems, and it's one I don't think the organisation was fully sort of aware of in terms of what it would create. But we'll work our way through it.
Councillor Lamont.
Yeah, just a question, Mr Mayor. The voluntary planning agreements, they're often referred to in this forum as grants. They're not. The government allocates on a hierarchical basis 24 councils at the moment anyhow. I don't know what the new government's going to do. Well, actually I do know. But they're not grants. They're allocations to council because of the socio-economic and transport activity impacts on the community created by mining, funded by royalties that they get from the mining companies. And that's critical. So is that in addition to the grants, or is it included in the grants that we're talking about here? I know when you look at the financials, you see how they're funded, the expenditure of these programs. So I'm assuming they're linked back to this.
Through the chair, I don't believe VPAs would be included in here because I believe they would be specifically mentioned as VPAs.
Okay, good. Okay, fair enough. And the other thing I was just going to say while I've got the chair, Mr Mayor, is there's hard-working grants, applying for them, reporting on them, then acquitting them. And I know one council further west of here has got something like 147 grants of, $2 grand all the way through to whatever. And they've engaged because of staff turnover, they've engaged an external entity to come in and spend a lot of time to reconcile all their grants. So just be careful of grants.
Councillor Dickinson.
Oh, I just noted here that the grants officer helps community groups apply for grants as well. Is that correct? I'm just wondering, in the list of grants that we've applied for, and it's quite extensive, did we see any that we've helped the community with?
Through the chair, I don't believe we would have listed those because it would have been the community group that would have applied for the grant, but just with our assistance.
Oh, okay. Yep. This looks like a pretty extensive job. Does the grants officer get much help when dealing with ours and outside grants, like community grants?
Through the chair, in the last 12 months, we've provided additional resource to the grants officer because it has been a mammoth task for one person. So I said through the last 12 months, the grant officer has been given additional resource because it has been a mammoth undertaking. And there are currently 2 officers in that area that are still continuing to do a good job with the assistance of members of the ID team who are working through the contractual side of the grant process.
Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, just following directly on from Councillor Dickinson's direct there, he took my thunder on that one too. I think it's really important that we would track the opportunities, particularly say for an organisation like Summit, who we're supporting for this year. But there's a whole stack of those sort of organisations. I think that they become responsible for investing those funds. But I think if we can provide that advocacy and also then report on it in this format, I think this format's very good. But to report on how well we're doing for those external organisations, I think would be very valuable.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further comment for or against the motion? Councillor Timmins, I'm right to put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 15.2, recommendation. The Council received and note the updated draft Economic Development Strategy 2023 to 2032 and Regional Workforce and Skills Strategy 2023 to 2032. Number 2, the Council endorsed the draft Economic Development Strategy 23 to 32 and draft Regional Workforce and Skills Strategy 23 to 32 and place the documents on public exhibition for a period of at least 28 days prior to adoption. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Clements, Councillor Timmins. Councillor Clements.
Look, I think the staff, their effort, it's a big body of work when you read through the 3 strategies, the 3 documents. What I would like is that once it's come back from the public, that we actually perhaps do a workshop on the strategies, because I think it's a comprehensive bit of work. But what do we do with it? How do we shape it into a tool we can use? I think the next question after that. So I would look forward to a workshop on this once it comes back from public exhibition. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further comment for or against the motion? Councillor Clements, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 15.3, notice of motion. Councillor Browning, the council be provided with a quarterly grants report from Q1 2023 to 24 onwards that details all grants received or distributed by the Narrabri Shire Council on behalf of council and community. Don't we already do that?
Well, so it's distributed, so it's a formal way of recording, I suppose, the grants that we give more so than the grants we receive.
Okay. You'll move that one, councillor. You have a seconder? Councillor Clements. Would you speak to your motion, councillor?
Yeah, it's just that when I read back through minutes like 2020 and 2021, there was always a quarterly report on grants. That's it was just something that would be like useful for us. That's why I'm putting that forward.
Okay. Any further comment for or against the motion? Councillor?
Yeah, I have a clarification question, please.
Councillor Richardson?
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Browning, are you specific, like, is this specific for the grants that council is applying for? Or just the way I read it, I'm unsure whether it's both, or is it what council has going out to the community?
I'm sorry, Lisa, but I can't understand. Is this about councillors, what council is receiving, or what council is putting out to the community in grants? As both, councillor?
Should we, instead of saying received or distributed, should it read receive and distributed? So both are captured, like just to make sure nothing goes astray.
You happy with that, councillor? Yeah, we can change that.
What's the proposed changing? I'm second the same.
And then to...
Well, I'm not sure if that captures processes where council distributes funds. It doesn't receive funds, it just distributes through. And I'm keen to see that. Can you hear that, Lisa? Sorry, Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, I can. I just, previous to wanting that word changed, I asked Councillor Browning to just clarify, is it what council's applied for itself, or is it for community, or both?
Councillor Richardson, your audio was a lot better earlier on. It's very muffled, yeah.
It's the same connection and everything. I'm sitting in the same room, so sorry you can't hear me clearly. I was just after clarification whether it's the grants received for council specifically, or if it's what council is distributing to the community group.
Both.
Both, councillor.
Yeah, I just think it might be best to have them presented separately. What's everyone else's thoughts?
I'm happy to make it a two-part motion if the mover is happy.
Councillor Clements.
Look, I'm happy to, with the approval of the mover, that we turn this into point 1.2. Point 1 would be that details all grants received. Point 2 would be all grants, any grant funds received or distributed. To pick up the notion that sometimes council crudely acts as a set of kidneys that just passes money through. That's a terrible visual thought. I'll stop there now. Anyway, yeah, look, I think, councillor, you can see that. Look, it's been a previous practice of previous councils. I think it gives us just a look at what's happening. To come back to Councillor Dickinson's question on, can we give a bit more detail on who we've helped, that sort of thing. That helps us when we're being asked to resource this area of our work, and I think we've got a couple of very hard-working grants officers. It helps us understand their workload, and also in terms of the second, now the point 2, it gives us an idea of effectively strategic decisions that council is taking, which I think again is actually very much our area that we should be looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Okay, so councillor, you're happy with this? Councillor Brown, you're happy with the rewording
Yeah,
of this
no.
motion?
No, I would.
Okay. Any further comment for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Okay. Is there much on that agenda?
280s. They should go straight through.
Okay, I'll suspend standing orders at 3:21 for until, hang on, 10 minutes? Okay, well, 3:30.
Mr. General Manager, I'm declaring on the first item back from your suspension, but I'm not feeling very well. I'm going to go home.
Move into closed council meeting. Okay. Where's my closed council meeting?
May I interrupt and just ask a question about the live stream?
Yep, sure. Okay.
So today's the first live streaming council meeting, correct?
Oh, sorry. It's actually the second time we've live streamed it out.
Okay. So how do we know when it's actually stopped live streaming, like when we're on break and when we go into confidential?
So when we go into break, we can tell you that we've put a placeholder in. So basically, what happens when we go on break? If you actually go to the live stream, it puts up a screen that says we'll be back shortly. But we can certainly tell you when we've done that and when we haven't done that, if that makes life easier.
No, I was just curious as to how you actually know or who's doing it. So yeah, if you're doing it, Jason, all good, thank you.
Yeah, the minute taker's doing it. She's all over it.
Okay.
Two screens they're like that Indian god with 1,000 arms.
Thank you, councillor. So you're right now? Okay, we'll move on. We're moving to closed council meeting to discuss item 16.1, amendment to the Master Inland Rail Development Agreement, MIRDA, Narrabri Narromine. Item 16.2, Public Art Advisory Committee appointments of members. Can I have a mover to move into closed council meeting? Councillor Tiemans, Councillor Clements. Closed council meeting at 3:35. that okay, so I'll read out both the motions. Is that what I'm doing?
And this one's long.
If you can see the team there.
Okay. The council receive and note the report on the handover of the unnamed Crown Road to council and corresponding 20-year road maintenance agreement. The council endorsed the amendment to the Master Inland Rail Development Agreement, MIRDA, for the Narromine to Narrabri end-to-end section of the Inland Rail and authorised the General Manager to execute the amendment. Documentation was lost. And the council endorsed the 4 applicants recommended to be members of the Public Arts Advisory Committee, and the council voted yes to that recommendation. Okay. I declare the standing orders over at 4 o'clock, according to my 4 o'clock, according to my phone here. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, staff and directors.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.